Hello and welcome back to some climbing news. I know this sucks. I don't like the way it looks either. I can't, I'm kind of in a transitionary point in my life, getting my shit together, and I don't have lights or a camera. I'm recording this on my phone again, so apologies to everybody. But more importantly, lots of stuff going on in the climbing world today. We've got two 9A/V17s to talk about. Sungsu sparking up some debate with a dab on his repeat of Burden of Dreams, and Will Bosi's first ever 9A proposal. Adam Ondra with a wild semi-flash, semi-on-site. Tommy Caldwell's latest downgrade of Empath. All the results from the first ever Bouldering World Cup that was held in Curitiba, Brazil over the weekend, and more. So of course, and as always, sit back, relax. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying all these bi-weekly updates. Please forgive me for how horrible this looks, and yeah, let's get into it. And starting us off with a quick little ditty, Nikolai Uznik just got the FA of Stairway to Hell, climb for which he has proposed the grade 8C, which he also says could even deserve a slash grade 8C/8C+. This would make Stairway to Hell one of, if not the hardest boulders in Slovenia. Something kind of cool. Maybe, something Yanya should go and try. She feels like doing a little something outdoors for whatever reason. Apparently, it's just one single extremely difficult move into a stand start that I honestly can't find much info about. It is what it is. But hats off to Nikolai, though, for a strong first ascent. Will be interesting to see what other people who repeat this boulder say. Maybe it's harder than 8C. Who really knows? We'll find out in the future. And then Camille Coudert has just finished up a big Brione trip in which he climbed the sit start of probably one of the most famous 8A boulders ever, Fake Pamplemousse. That climb is called Deep Fake, supposedly 8C+, and was first climbed by Nathan Phillips back in 2024 and has only ever been repeated by Matt Foltz and now Camille himself. As far as grades go, Camille has said that while he thinks the boulder felt somewhat easier than other 8C+s, he does believe that both the fact that this climb seems to be better suited for taller climbers, that he is on the taller side, also that it's very much in his style, and that he very much respects the opinion of a lot of people who have told him 8C+ seems about right for the grade, means that he's fine with taking the 16 points. As far as the boulder itself, it's the sit start of Fake Pamplemousse. Just look at it. Look at it. It's in a river. It's overhung. It's cool moves on cool looking holds. It's, at least for me, on the list of dream boulders I hope to, at the very least, try out one day. And now, more importantly, honestly, go check out Camille's ascent. It's on his Instagram. It's honestly pretty freaking cool. The dude power screams like a banshee. It's one of those moments that really get the psych going. Link is in the description down below, as always. And then let's talk about Pietro Vidi, who just got the second ascent of Lurking Fear, one of El Cap's unrepeated routes. The route, which was originally graded 513C, was climbed first by Beth Rodden and Tommy Caldwell back in the year 2000. And now Pietro, who, by the way, he's only been trad climbing for 2 years, just got the second ascent. And okay, so this thing has gone completely unrepeated for 25 years. And you've got Tommy Caldwell saying he only really graded it 513C because at the time he hadn't ever heard of anything being 514 slab, but that it 100% is 514. And I gotta say, I believe him because, it's Tommy Caldwell, and because, again, 25 years, no repeat. So what does 514 slab even look like? I don't know. I don't want to know. It sounds awful. It probably is. And it got sent by a dude that spent most of his climbing career bouldering. Pietro Vidi has straight up said that he had practically zero crack climbing experience before he discovered Yosemite while on a trip there with Camila Moroni a couple of years ago. Let that sink in for a second. The dude is 22, he's climbing a style he has relatively little experience in, and yet he goes and sends one of the last unrepeated routes on El Cap. This is like that one time that Billy Rydell and Alex Waterhouse did the nose. It's pretty crazy. It should be a real rock. Is it going to be a real rock? Probably not. I guess there's not enough drama. Maybe if they'd broken up mid-climb or something. Now, look, as far as what style Pietro did this in, apparently he freed the first two pitches, pitch 2 being the crux slab, which he dynoed through, by the way, because, he's a comp kid. And of course he'd do that. What comp kid wouldn't just Dino the Crux, right? Like, so then he fixed some ropes, went back down to the ground, and did a final push all the way up, falling only a few times on a couple other pitches, particularly pitch 7, which is apparently super flaky and chossy, and on which he broke one of the holds, but then managed to red point second go. And then the only other pitch that he was kind of worried about was one of the last ones, the 511 off width, which he ended up just laybacking because why not? And he said it was pretty chill. Anyways, massive congratulations to Pietro Vidi. Apparently it's totally fine to do a few pitches, come back down, wait a little bit before doing a final push to the top. I personally didn't know that because I have exactly 0 big wall experience, but honestly, it's pretty sick to see super hard old school routes get some love, and also just kind of cements what absolute freaking monster legends both Tommy Caldwell and Beth Rodden were/are. And speaking of Tommy, so Tommy Caldwell, Sonny Trotter, and Alex Honnold are kind of famously on a race to see which one of them can be the first to send a 9A route again. And Tommy could have just gotten the win, but he is just too honest for his own damn good. Because Tommy just sent Empath, a climb originally sent by Carla Traversi, which was given 9A+. It was also subsequently repeated by Waniel Dudes and Wimmy Jeb, both of whom aren't particularly known for their route climbing, but who also agreed was 9A+. Then Nathaniel Coleman sent and said nothing, and then comes big bad boy Connor Herson with the first downgrade. Well, okay, in reality, he kind of downgraded it alongside Ethan Pringle. They realized the holds were jammable, that this was basically a trad route, and so they downgraded that bad boy to 514D because the mellow boulder boys we love, you know, can't crack climb for shit. And so the next few repeats of this thing also suggest 9A, and then Connor Herson comes in and does the unthinkable. He freaking does the route on gear, like trad gear. He's jamming cams and nuts in the walls. It's one of the most impressive trad ascents of all time because he's a beast. And then Tommy Caldwell comes in and says, 9A, nah, I'm a real trad dad now. This thing is 8C. At most. And then he says that the new race between him, Sonny, and Alex is for one of them to do an old school, undisputable 9A route. And then my mind just freaking... What? 8C? 8C? Like not even 8C plus. He decided to downgrade it to 8C? What is wrong with you? Like, look, I understand beta refinements, and we're talking about one of the all-time greatest trad climbers ever, but from 9A to 8C is a ridiculously long way to fall. Almost like the fall Ethan Pringle took on this thing. Like, hats off to him, by the way, for basically tearing his MCL on a tree branch and still sending 3 days later. I wouldn't have. Would you have? Be honest with yourself, you wouldn't have. Nobody, only Ethan Pringle would do that. Anyways, downgrading 4 grades is wild. Still, it'd be pretty cool to see someone like Pete Whitaker get on this thing too. I wonder if he'd keep the grade. Also, and I know once something is downgraded, it tends to stick, but it's kind of a bummer the original way of doing it probably won't see more repeats. Like, watch this video of Carla Traversi on it. Like, it's such a cool climb when it's done without jams and stuff. Like, 515A is way out of my personal pay grade, but if I were to ever be strong enough to do this climb, I'd do it the OG way. Grades be damned. Like, I don't care. That just looks fun. But hey, I'd love to know your thoughts on the downgrade because, again, 8C, you know, is Tommy just sandbagging the crap out of his friends as a flex and trolling us as a result? I kind of think he is. But then let's talk more trad stuff as Adam Ondra finds himself in the news again for doing some crazy stuff. He flashed Lexicon E11 7A in the UK. So, British trad grades, right? What the hell do they even mean? Well, to put it in an incredibly oversimplified way, the system kind of works as a way to factor in danger and fear into the route being climbed, though not necessarily. It's kind of a clusterfuck of a system that apparently works really well once you understand it, but no one outside the UK actually does, so, you know, just trust me, E11 7A is both scary as all hell and very difficult. By the way, the 7A has nothing to do with the font system. It's a whole other thing. So it's not like Adam Ondra climbed a 7A route and is telling everyone how impressive it is that he flashed. It's more like Adam Ondra climbed something around 8C, 8C plus, or 514 trad and is telling everyone how impressive it is that he flashed, which makes things way more impressive. And then let's talk about how exactly he did this, because he flashed, but also kind of on-sided, but then he didn't really. So apparently he rappelled down the cliff, watched the first ascensionist Neil Gresham play skier, but then did absolutely everything he could to make sure he didn't actually look at any of the holds, meaning the only info he had was how to protect himself, which honestly is probably why he did it this way, because Adam wanted to flash one of the UK's hardest trad routes, but he definitely didn't want to die. And so we're left with this kind of cool picture of honesty, which I personally think is pretty freaking important. It also lets me segue into the next section of the video with incredible efficiency. That is to talk about Lee Sungsu's Burden of Dreams send. Because Lee Sungsu has sent Burden of Dreams, but has he really? Because the guy put up this video of himself dabbing, and I'm actually gonna play it. Watch. Do you guys remember in The Incredibles, the teacher that hates Dash, who's like, you see, he moved.
He moves right there. Wait.
Yeah, that's how I feel right now, because the pad moves. It moves. There's no question at all that this is a dab. It is a dab. The question is whether or not the send should count, because Lee Sungsu says he didn't feel the dab, doesn't think it helped him in any way, and what I'm seeing from this video, it's something minor enough that it's basically negligible. But he dabbed. And look, this is my personal opinion, and I'd honestly love to see it spark some sort of debate in the comments, but a dab is a dab. Climbing is one of those sports that doesn't and shouldn't need to take itself all that seriously. It's just a stupid game we play in the woods or at the gym. At the same time though, this game has rules. Very few of them, yes, but still, one of those rules says you can't count something as a send if any part of you touches anything other than the rock or the climb that you're working. What that means, at least in my book, is that the conclusion to all of this is pretty simple. If you want to play the game, you gotta follow the rules. Now for most of us, whether we follow the rules doesn't really matter. The only person that cares whether you got, the 500th repeat of the most popular warm-up at your local crag is the person in the mirror. But when it comes to the people at the cutting edge, the ones literally writing climbing history with their sends, things are slightly different. Like if it does, there definitely needs to be an asterisk or something. That said, I do think this one kind of counts a little more than Simon Lorenzi's and Elias Negma's sends, which I think are kind of bullshit because they did it when someone had, built like a little platform thing on the landing so the pads would be higher and pulling off the ground was easier. But then again, that's a whole other situation. Anyways, I'd love to know what all of you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm too much of a purist? Do you think this burden send actually should count? Let me know. And then Will Bosi has just announced his first ever 9A proposal. That's right, first ever. I was surprised too, actually. But I think other than this latest boulder, which he has called Realm of Tor'ment, his hardest FA might be Honey Badger 8C+, also on crazy looking limestone. Now I gotta give props to the name, Realm of Tor'ment, great pun. It's in Raven Tor, that's why I love it. And as far as what the description of this boulder looks like, we've got left hand on a tufa, right hand on a crimp. I just motioned with whatever. 4 sustained moves to a couple of bad pockets, which apparently lead to the crux after a hard right hand bump to an undercling. A few tensiony foot moves, and then the hard 8B+ single move, a dynamic slap to a flat edge. And then a final big jump to something Will Bosi calls a good flake, which, let's be real, probably absolutely craptastic for the rest of us. Now this climb apparently took Will years to complete, double-digit sessions, and what he claims is his longest project to date, and yet he seems kind of iffy on the grade, which is interesting. You'd think longest project means hardest climb, right? But no, apparently Will has been struggling with how he'd grade this thing, only really managing to say that he believes it to be on the softer side of 9A, and kind of similar in difficulty to Spots of Time. With stuff like this, I mean, one can only really let the repeaters decide. We'll see what happens once Aiden Roberts gets on this, if he actually ever does. And one thing, does anyone know if this thing tops out, or is it just one of those jump down because there's nothing above you boulders? Because I don't know, I personally find those kind of lose quality points in my opinion. I'd love to know what you guys think though. Do you believe the grade will stick? Do you think Will Bosi is being a little too conservative with his grade suggestion? Let me know in the comments, as always. And last but not least, World Cup time in Brazil. That's right, the first ever IFSC World Cup in South America was held over the weekend, and man, I really wish I could show you guys literally any of the footage from these comps, but the IFSC is freaking ruthless with its copyright striking, so not much I can do other than to give a pretty simple overview of what happened. But basically, For the women, we had a pretty tight contest for first place between Nale Meignan and Oriane Berton, both French women, one of them competing for their first ever World Cup gold. Now Oriane started things off with some serious fire. She sent boulder 1 on her second go, flashed boulder 2, sent boulder 3 on her second go, and managed boulder 4 in 4 attempts. This was almost good enough to get the gold, but unfortunately for her, Nale Meignan was hot on her heels the whole time. With 5 attempts to send boulder 1, she basically needed to outperform Oriane by quite a lot on every subsequent boulder if she wanted any sort of hope at first place, and she freaking nailed it. She did. Every single other boulder was a flash. It's crazy stuff. Congratulations to Nale for her first ever gold medal. Congratulations to Oriane for another silver and a great result. And congratulations to Camilla Moroni as well, who despite having a tough start to her season, looked pretty good this time with a bronze medal win. And now on to the men's boulders, where the competition was a little different. Boulders had like no tops, or barely any tops. Only first and second place got tops, which I think honestly is kind of not great, right? Anywho, Tomoro Narasaki managed to get third place with a total of 39 points. His flash of the zone of boulder 3 is what got him into the podium, which is pretty cool, but also, again, like, kind of lame, I think, to not see any tops at all from him or any other competitors below him. This was rectified though by Mehdi Schlack, who managed to top both boulders 1 and 4, but didn't manage to get even a zone for boulder 3 at all. He was outpaced by the one and only Sorato Anraku, who managed to flash the zone for every single boulder in this comp, something that's honestly pretty freaking impressive given how hard these boulders were, and he topped boulders 1 and 3 on his third and second go respectively. This is Sorato Anraku's third gold medal of the season. Just kind of goes to show how insanely strong he is right now. Congratulations, of course, to all of the athletes who competed, and also to just Brazil in general. Setting up a climbing comp as well as they did is not easy, especially given that there was a freaking fire that nearly brought down the whole wall like less than a month ago. But hey, looking forward to the next comp as always. Should be a fun watch. And yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. Did you guys enjoy it? Did you think the men's final was well set? Let me know in the comments below. But that, of course, and as always, was some climbing news. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch me tell you random climbing stuff. I'll be uploading a how to transition to outdoor bouldering video in the coming days. Hopefully it'll help anyone out there that's never gone outside, and maybe it'll look a little bit better than this one. Again, I apologize for the way this is turning out. But in the meantime, just a quick reminder to please like, subscribe if you haven't, comment with any and all opinions you might have. But otherwise, yeah, go climb some stuff.